It's really weird of Contra to, like, do all of this a year afterwards. This is like when somebody kind of acts like a dick and then storms off, and then they, like, go back through the door to, like, yell through it, except waiting a year. So I think the context of the clip that it's about to play is that Contra was defending her friend who was sexually harassing me in a context in which she had admitted she didn't even know what my argument was and was literally just, like, lunch table politicsing. So here I am, you know, I do politics. I've never made an enemy in my life. Nobody dislikes me. Everyone's fine with me. And then out of nowhere, you know, today Contra drops a video and I think, oh, she's not dead. That's great. But then I get the, you know, I get the DMs, I get the messages. Oh, did you know that she attacks you? She calls you the N-word, yada, yada. So I think, okay, all right, fine. Stream's about to start anyway. Well, here I am. You know, that was the jokey opener. I'm actually not gonna be glib with the video because I haven't seen it. That's not true. I've watched the first 20 minutes of the Contra video. So far, I like it. I can see where it's going. I enjoy it. I don't think it's as tightly edited as some of her earlier videos, which is unfortunate, but it's still really good. Like, you know, I'm not attacking the whole video here. Unless it turns out that, like, at the 21-minute mark, it's just dedicated to a hate manifesto against me. I'm going to assume the video, by and large, maintains that level of quality when I say that it's good. But, okay, apparently I'm mentioned. More than once. My wonderful editor, Tempest, has given me some timestamps. Let's see. We'll see how bad it is, okay? I'll respond sincerely. I'll drop the jokes, okay? I'm serious. I'm not going to make any jokes. I'm just going to respond, okay? Is that fair? Look at that. That's responsible of me. I don't normally do that. No, I mean it. I mean, I'll try. I'll try my best, okay? 1:16:33. That is a time that could conceivably be where I start. Okay, let's look. Let's look. Let's see how bad it is. Yeah, it's a 2-hour video, so timestamps are pretty necessary here. It's crazy. It's Contra. Look at that. It's Contra. That's crazy. Okay. Now let's get to the good part, the part where I come up. Haha.
I guess J.K. Rowling doesn't think so because she's never condemned it. In fact, when Dennis's Twitter suspension ended, she was right there to welcome him back. And
okay, so we're talking about J.K. Rowling. So immediately I have a pretty good idea of what this is going to be.
She continues to retweet him. I've always been happy to acknowledge that angry trans people on Twitter sometimes take things too far. Things like death threats or misogynistic insults, I don't support that, and I've called it out in the past. Like when the leftist streamer Vaush, drama alert, who is not trans.
Man, she said Vaush with a lot of ire there, didn't she? She did call me a leftist, though. I guess that's nice. Well, Contra's like a social democrat, right? So maybe to her, leftist isn't like an affirmative term of endearment, but is rather like, you know, one of those. But Vaush mentioned? Comments locked? All right. So about a year ago, I said, very wisely, very sensibly, all J.K. Rowling had to do was shut the fuck up and she could have been almost uncritically beloved for like a century. Okay? And then I followed it up with, women be quieter and start apologizing challenge. So, obviously, that is a misogynistic tweet. Kind of hard to argue around that one. I would argue that it's a very obviously like a light misogyny, like a very light, airy, obviously unserious joke. When I think of like real misogyny, I tend to think of like, I don't know, Andrew Tate stuff, or like arguments that are meant to support misogyny, something that would reinforce a misogynistic worldview, as opposed to like a light, airy joke. You know what I mean? Doesn't mean it's not misogynistic, blah, blah, blah. I'll say this, you know, my internal metric for whether or not it's okay to make a problematic joke has always been, would a person who already agrees with like the misogynistic or like the racist or anything, that would a reactionary person look at this and think of it as like an endorsement of their ideology? You know what I mean? So that to me is where you tackle the real issue, which is the blurry line in between making jokes that can legitimately be quite funny despite being problematic and like dishonestly fronting an ideology under the cover of comedy. That's always been my line, which is why, like, I make jokes about, like, haha women, but usually I try to make those jokes kind of, like, deliberately incoherent or stupid or, like, obviously irreverent, you know what I mean? And in my mind, it's like, okay, it's not, you can't be perfect with, like, the intention of your humor, but at the very least, I don't think anyone's going to walk away from this thinking this is, like, a real argument, you know what I mean? That's my belief. And I think that's an okay, like, metric to go at things. I think that's fine. I mean, this is a pretty light comment altogether. You know, and I make plenty of comments about men as well. I feel like it fits sort of holistically into my character and my attitude. But anyway, whatever. So I made these tweets, and then J.K. Rowling posted an image of them, like quote tweeted. I forget which one it was, and it started this big discourse about people like me feeding into turf narratives by being misogynistic. And I guess I'll talk more about that in a second, because I think that's a really dumb narrative personally. But you know, we'll go ahead because I know where this is going, I think.
Tweeted at JK Rowling, "Women be quieter and start apologizing" challenge.
Oh wait, I didn't tweet that at J.K. Rowling. I just tweeted it. I didn't at her, but yeah.
I called him out, tweeting, "Doing edgy, ironic misogyny while defending trans people magnifies the grain of truth in what TERFs say about there being misogyny in trans activism."
Okay, again, not to be a stickler, but it's not calling. Okay, my thing wasn't tweeting at her, and her thing isn't calling me out because it's by definition a vague tweet. Yeah, I don't know. It did bother me when I saw these tweets from Contra because, like, I don't know. She'd been on my stream like twice or three times before. I feel like if you have an issue with something I've said, you could tell me, like, I don't know, directly. But anyway, yeah.
I tweeted that because I recognize that if people who are claiming to speak for you are doing so in a misogynistic way, and if you let that slide, you're going to wake up one day to find that you're in a misogynistic movement. Of course, Vaush
I don't know if I agree with the idea that really light, obviously comedic, sexist jokes like that need to be tackled lest you wake up one day and find yourself in a misogynistic movement. I guess the weird thing for me is, like, I haven't watched her videos in a while, but I feel like Contra often makes kind of light, self-deprecating, misogynistic jokes. This is something trans women will do a lot, where when they make a mistake, they'll do like a, oh, haha, well, you know, the women, huh, thing, which it's like a self-affirming identity thing. She's done it a few times. Would we argue then, like, okay, well, that is also like, you're gonna like this is misogyny that's amplifying the worst elements of the movement, you know what I mean? Or like the woman moment thing or whatever. I guess I feel like a very unreasonable degree of, like, threat and danger is being ascribed to my tweet, which kind of supports the turf argument by, like, the goal of turfs is to overstate the degree of misogyny present in the left, because that's the scapegoat they use to attack trans people, which is why I'm cautious about inflating the argument that there is, like, this, like, huge problem of misogyny in trans activism, which I don't think is the case. There is a problem with, like, misogyny broadly in the left, more so obviously not in the left, but it is a real thing. But I don't like to overstate it, because I feel like in that case you're kind of making their case for them. Probably not good. Yeah, you're sort of making the argument like this is the grain of truth in the turf argument. There are misogynistic men who are using trans rights to masquerade their attacks on women, which, I mean, I'm sure statistically there are some doing that, but to frame me as doing that comes across as kind of dishonest, I think.
took the criticism really well,
Thank you.
explaining that actually, I just didn't understand the complex tactical arguments for the moral necessity of being misogynistic to JK Rowling.
Oh, that's my video. Okay. With respect, the arguments you give in your video support my position here, and with all the associated context, the site really isn't the best place to speak with it on nuance. I'm extremely confident you'd agree with me if you were fully caught up. Man, I was being, like, really nice here. And then she responds, it just strikes me as off that you're extremely confident you definitely know better than a trans woman who's been doing this activism for over a decade, and it kind of compounds my discomfort with the women be quieter tweet. So this is like, well, this is the same argument J.K. Rowling makes, where she's like, any criticism instantly dies against her because she's a woman. Yeah, it's pretty dumb. And then my response was, is that really your argument that I, by way of being cis, couldn't possibly be correct in a disagreement on trans issues with a trans person? I was always under the impression you valued the quality of the argument. Okay, I guess that was really arrogant of me to believe in the concept of, I don't even know, like, having beliefs? Yeah, I don't know. Man, I was being really nice with her here. I note that she read out loud the content of the previous tweets, but for this one, she just summarizes it with like a dishonest refrain. Like, because if she read this out loud, it would sound kind of reasonable. So instead, she just posts it and then summarizes it as me being like arrogant and condescending, which is what she's doing here, not me. Yeah, well, it's pretty dishonest. Pretty L.
Complex tactical arguments for the moral necessity of being misogynistic to
I didn't even mention complex tactical arguments. I just was like kind of taken. I just said that I feel like if I could talk with her off platform, like privately, that she would probably agree with what I had to say. And then her response was, I'm a trans woman, so I can't be wrong. And this video title is obviously a joke. The moral necessity of being sexist to J.K. Rowling. But yeah.
J.K. Rowling. And then he accused me of cancel culturing him while at the same time literally telling
Yeah, the idpull thing is kind of cancel culture-y. Vaush, also weren't you defending, you weren't defending the misogyny, correct? Well, no, I mean, my argument with the misogyny thing is that I don't care. I don't think that I've said anything more misogynistic than what Contra's said. I genuinely think that kind of light, like that, it's just not consequential. And I noticed this clip right here. This clip is the Cat Black thing. So for those who aren't appraised in the drama, and thank God for that, there's another creator called Cat Black who posted a bunch of tweets that misrepresented my argument. So again, I tried to address what I felt was like a misrepresentation by DMing her and trying to explain to her what I actually thought for an hour. And then she was really rude to me in DMs and nothing came of it. And then I woke up the next morning to her dumping the entire DM log in which she was really rude to me and I wasn't at all to her. And then I started arguing with her on Twitter, and then Contra jumped in to defend her friend Cat Black against me, but then admitted that she didn't know what my argument was. So she admitted to telling me I was wrong without knowing what I was saying. And also Cat Black was sexually harassing me because she started posting about how we used to sext and then was like talking about my dick. And then Cat Black went on to make literally hundreds of tweets about me and then wrote an essay about me. It was all really weird. Contra's behavior here is like completely incompatible with my previous perception of her. So I don't really know. 10K words? Yeah, it was like at least 10,000 words. I don't know. It was a really big thing. I never read it. Zan had a TTS read it. Probably the only way to go about it. This essay. They had Vaush. They said Vaush had a small dick. I think they like implied it, which it doesn't really bother me. My dick pics are literally public, so it's not, you know, the record stands. You know, in contra. Oh yeah, this is the essay that Cat Black wrote. Look at this. Well, my spat with Vaush taught me about being a black woman online. Dun 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 dun. Dun 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 dun. Dun 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 dun. 32 bloggers like this. Yeah, so that was pretty weird. Right, yeah. I'm sorry. This was like such a big drama thing. It's really weird of Contra to like do all of this a year afterwards. You know what I mean? This is like when somebody kind of acts like a dick and then storms off and then they like go back through the door to like yell through it, except waiting a year. Yeah. It's pretty strange, I think. Oh, anyway, so I think the context of the clip that it's about to play is that Contra was defending her friend who was sexually harassing me in a context in which she had admitted she didn't even know what my argument was and was literally just like lunch table politicsing, and then I think I'm about to say, go and like harass her into agreeing with me, which I don't care. I just don't. Like, we're both content creators. Like, obviously, we both weaponize our audiences passively and by default by arguing with each other in public. The funny thing is that with both Contra and Cat Black, I tried to settle things in DMs where there is no threat of the public. Oh, I didn't even say harass. Did I say bully? Anyway, like, I with both of them, I tried to settle it by talking in DMs. I said shame? Oh, dude. I don't regret that at all. Yeah, her behavior was shameful. Like, okay, that's what I said? People have like screeched about this for so long that I thought in my head, I was like, well, what did I say? Like a 3-minute, like jihad threat or something? Is that what I said?
Telling his followers to publicly shame me.
The more of you are in the replies being like, that's not what's happening right here. Like, this is necessary, okay? Publicly shame her into changing her mind on this. That's it? Oh, man. I'm sorry. I haven't heard it in like a year. But other people talked about it like Vaush sent his audience to attack. And like, no. Like, I think her behavior was shameful. Okay, yeah, all right. She's so fragile. Yeah, well, the thing that bothers me is that Contra knows how much tactics like her own hurt people. Contra's literally been like driven to like opiate addiction, relapsing, and alcoholism because of the behavior of Twitter woke scolds. I would expect her of anybody to be really sympathetic to how like I don't know, damaging it can be to do like really random drama id pull attacks for no reason other than to like from like that kind of stuff, you know? It's not really as much of a risk for me because I'm obviously handle criticism better than she does. But I would still expect her to be more sympathetic or more like human about it. I don't know. It's still a call to brigade that was dumb and reckless. No, if two public figures are arguing on Twitter and I think she's like objectively in the wrong, I don't think it's bad. I don't, you know? I've heard the arguments, I just don't. Like, her responding publicly rather than DMing me is an effort to shame me publicly. Me acknowledging that, like, audibly isn't a change in the tactic or mode of engagement. It's just I'm honest about what's happening, and other people sometimes aren't. Your meme is the best part of all this. My meme? Oh, God, yes. The when she doesn't care. The Cat Black. the collage of Cat Black messages. Oh, God. All right. Anyway, let's move on.
Then bringing up my past struggle with addiction.
Oh, I just did that again. You off this site and into... I don't want to bring up the substance abuse.
So that pretty much...
Wait, that was me saying I didn't want to bring up the substance abuse. Is it, like... Contra has literally talked about how she's had addiction issues and relapses caused by behavior that she herself is demonstrating here. Is it bad to say... Like... for somebody who's literally talked publicly as a public figure, like, this set of behaviors on Twitter have driven me into a really dark place. And if they then exhibit that exact behavior in the future, is it bad to point out that's bad? Like, I don't know. Yeah. Like, it clearly wasn't an attempt to weaponize the trauma against her. I don't think that it makes Contra like a bad person to have struggled with addiction. Maybe it means she's more like vulnerable to online criticism, but like okay, like, all right. I'm sure at the pearly gates, like, that's not being weighed too heavily against your heart. You know, that's not, I don't think that's like a mark against you morally. I just think it's kind of a mark at how thoughtless she's being, you know? Like, it's just, I don't know, kind of thoughtless, I think.
confirmed to me that Vaush doesn't actually care about advocating for trans people.
Man, it's a good thing she makes good videos, huh? Every once in a while. That's I mean, charitably, that's quite a reach.
And just uses trans rights as a pretext to act like a fucking dingus. I won't.
First of all, and I mean this not at all as a joke, I act like a dingus whether or not I'm fronting trans rights as an excuse. I clearly don't need an excuse. Second of all, that's pretty dumb. I've done literally like hundreds and thousands of hours of specific dedicated, you know, trans positive, trans advocacy content. Yeah, I've made significantly more content to that effect than she can, you know, probably largely because of the live stream content schedule, but also just because I care a lot about it. I get emails all the time from people saying like, hey, your videos help me realize that I'm trans. Your videos help me realize how to argue for my identity against my family, against my parents, my siblings, my friends. You help me change the mind of this person or the other. I don't go a day without getting a DM or an email of somebody saying that, or multiple, It just comes off as so remarkably uncharitable, especially since even after all the ridiculously bad behavior Contra herself is engaged in, I've never taken away from her the argument that I think she makes good videos, right? Like, I've never sat here and gone, "Oh, okay, so she's just a grifter who only cares about her own acceptance as a trans person, but is really just committed to drama first and foremost, and will drop all good advocacy at a hat to do drama." Because I don't believe that. I think she's being remarkably stupid about this, but I don't know. I feel like her lack of charity here is pretty dumb.
Tell you to publicly shame him though, because unlike Vaush, I would never sink to that. The point I'm trying to make.
So that's what I mean about me being honest about what publicly shaming is. You might notice the past video or the past minute and a half of this video is her publicly shaming me. The difference is that I can acknowledge that, and she's choosing to go over year old drama. I get it's just like kind of dishonest to go like, unlike other people, I would never shame. Now let's drag. She literally with the microphone, the drama alert or whatever. Yeah. Boss, she's not sending her audience to you. Phoenix, where do you think the death threats that I get come from when they come from the left? Do you think somebody with 1.6 million subscribers dedicating multiple minutes of a video when she hasn't released one in a year to talking about how I'm a grifter who doesn't actually care about trans rights and exclusively uses trans rights as an excuse to front misogyny? Do you think that doesn't have effects on my life? Do you think these people don't then go on to hate fester or message me? Do you think it doesn't affect yeah, it's public shaming. It's just, she's just not being honest about the fact that it is.
Because I have no qualms about calling out people on my side whenever they go too far or cross a line.
Same.
Or do stupid tweets and then mansplain to me about how I don't understand tactical misogyny.
First of all, unironically using the term mansplain. I don't think I've ever heard her use that term before. Second of all, the tweets that she showed were just me saying, hey, if we talked, I bet you'd agree with me. And then she said, no, I wouldn't. You're not even trans. You couldn't possibly be right. And then me being incredulous about that. She's just lying about yeah. Man, I don't think I've ever... See, the bad stuff about this, or the worst part of this, is it makes me wonder if she's been this dishonest in previous videos. Have there ever been instances where she's talked about other people and misrepresented them the way she's obviously doing here? I feel like the answer is no, because I would have caught it, I pay attention to, stuff that I'm watching, I don't just passively engage with it. I try to logic through what they're saying. And I feel like if I was watching any other Contra video and she had done something that openly dishonest with any other person, I would have noticed it, because the tweet she showed just did not include the behavior that she's pushing on me, Yeah. Pretty weird. I don't think I've ever heard her say mansplain before.
Idiot. But the same cannot be said of J.K. Rowling.
True. Wait, what?
About how I don't understand tactical misogyny. Idiot. But the same...
True.
Same cannot be said of J.K. Rowling. I have never once seen her call out any of the bigotry and abusiveness that is absolutely rampant in the gender-critical movement.
Man, this, I feel like this, it's not just weird drama. This actually is to the detriment of her video. If the argument that she's making is that she's willing to call out people on her side when they engage in bad behavior, and the best example she can front is that, doesn't that come across as really weird? Let's dedicate this to the 2-minute drama recap. Yeah. It kind of weakens the argument here. Damn, she actually hates you? Yeah, I don't know. Pretty dumb.
In order to say that, we may call it transgender ideology, but when it comes to a person, they may be following transgender ideology, but they are not transgender. There is no such thing as a man or a woman being anything other than a man or a woman.
She's called trans women pedophiles.
We know that if a man has a paraphilia of dressing as a woman the most likely cross paraphilia is paedophilia. We know that these men have multiple paraphilias. They don't ever.
Is this the leader who openly praises Hitler and the Mike? This is the Posey Parker lady. She's the one who got soup canned at the recent Australia thing. The one where in Sydney there were a bunch of Nazis Sieg Heiling around her, and she was like, they weren't there. They weren't with me when they were like openly there with her. Yeah. The rest of this video is great if you ignore the parts where Vaush is referenced. Yeah, probably. I mean, I like the first 20 minutes. Yeah, it really does just seem like she has a good video and then she decides to just interrupt it to be mad at me. I don't understand what it is about my behavior that really gets under people's skin. The really weird thing is like, yeah, actually, come to think of it, I think the best comparison I can make is this. I remember Contras made fun of people like Sargon of Akkad and Jordan Peterson and stuff like that in the videos in her videos before. And usually she does so in a way that threads comedy into the argument. You know what I mean? Where you try to keep the video sort of synthesized. You integrate the criticisms in a way that keeps it flowing. Whereas in this, it just felt like a 2-minute break to like respond to year-old drama. There was no humor or it didn't feel like it fit. Yeah. It wasn't even mockery of me, really. It was just signaling dislike. I don't know what it is about me that gets under people's skin. The most arrogant assumption I could possibly make here would just be that I'm right, and the fact that I'm right and argumentatively unassailable frustrates them. Whereas with people like Jordan Peterson and Sargon of Akkad, they're stupid and very easy to tear into, so you can get some catharsis out of tearing into them for that reason. It's because you're annoying, Vaush. I'm proud to be annoying if being annoying includes saying stuff like, do you seriously think you're incapable of being wrong because you're trans and I'm cis? If that makes me an annoying debate bro, like believing in the concept of empiricism, if not falling for the Candace Owens Black Democrat plantation BS makes me annoying, then I'm totally fine with that. You need to move forward like 3 minutes. Oh, did I go to the wrong timestamp? 143? 143:48. Gotcha. 140. No, 147:48. I misread it twice.
Can't get along without a devil. And across the whole political spectrum, there's a misogynistic tendency to choose a female devil. Whether it's Anita Bryant, Hillary Clinton, Marie Antoinette, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, or J.K. Rowling. And there's always going to be people who seize on any...
Really? Damn, she really does hate me. Wow. That's really the end of the video? Like, you know, J.K. Rowling may be wrong, but she's also part of the like group of women who get targeted and hate mongered for and to demonstrate this, we have Vaush with his devastating blow against feminism. Women be quieter and start apologizing challenge. This is pretty bad. Like, not just against me, it's like politically bad. Yeah, if only I'd said white women. That would have like stopped the whole thing from being a thing. Yeah. The red bar she watched halfway. Oh god, yeah. Do you think she watched this? It's a good video. Well, I guess people like me are evidence why J.K. Rowling is partially right. I guess that's the point at the end of the video. J.K. Rowling's crusade against trans people is based in part on an argument that trans rights activists are misogynists, and I'm the... Okay. Yeah, I guess I could have avoided the woke criticism by just saying J.K. Rowling is right.
Opportunity to be misogynistic. So, I would advise...
Worth pointing out, by the way, that in the eyes of J.K. Rowling, the existence of Contra is more misogynistic than anything I could ever possibly say. J.K. Rowling is friends with a ton of far-right people. She clearly doesn't care about misogyny. She barely cared when Roe v. Wade was revoked. But according to her, biological male assuming the social role of a woman, blah, blah, blah. Like, that to her is the ultimate misogyny. I don't know why we play the game that TERFs do by pretending that we share the same definition of misogyny, or that like they're actually sincerely... It would be as dumb as like going up to Richard Spencer and going like, okay, I disagree with Richard Spencer on pretty much everything, However, there will always be people who use the left movement as an excuse to say cracker. You know, I think it's okay if you want to have a talk about like misogyny in the left or about like anti-white shit in the left, because hey, I've literally talked about that, but I don't usually do it, and by which I mean I never do it, in a context that's like a defense of the argument of a hate movement leader. You know what I mean? Like, I would never say, well, in spite of everything, these alt-righters have some kind of, have a point. The left is, a lot of them, using left politics as an excuse to be anti-white. But I will say, I do think there are some people on the left who have this issue, and it's worth talking about. You understand what I'm talking about, right? This does come across, at least to an extent, like an affirmation of the kind of logic that TERFs use to get ahead. So, yeah, that's probably not good. Vaush, I literally can't describe how the rest of her video agrees with everything you're saying now, especially re people deserving to be shamed. Yeah, I only watched the first 20 minutes, and then stream had to start, so I'm here now. But yeah, it's pretty wild. I don't know, just really lowers my respect for her. I mean, I'm glad that her videos, like, move people over to the extent that they do. I guess I'm not really happy about one of those videos having 2 minutes of really bad faith lying about me that'll probably turn hundreds of thousands of people against me for no reason, but I guess that's part of the job.
Trans people and our allies to keep in mind that J.K. Rowling is not the final boss of transphobia. She's not our devil. The devil is the Republican Party, the Conservative Party. The devil is patriarchy. It's the right-wing men who will be the ones to put gender-critical theory into brutal practice. Anita Bryant, Posey Parker, and J.K. Rowling are, to borrow a term from TERFs, handmaidens. TERFs are the real handmaidens. They're useful
I'll let her continue.
idiots who put a concerned female face on the patriarchal...
Wait, no. TERFs aren't useful idiots. They're far-right people. There are no... J.K. Rowling isn't like a sincere feminist who's been lured into anti-trans politics and is being used as a front for the far right. She is the far right. It's unironically like kind of misogynistic to suggest that she's just a stooge when she's the loudest and most active advocate for anti-trans politics, like from a private perspective outside of like a literal politician in the world. She's not a handmaiden. She wasn't picked as some like scapegoat by the far right. She chose to do this and has enormously elevated the conversation with her power. This kind of infantilization is yeah, kind of sexist. Maybe maybe J.K. Rowling really does have a point. Maybe the left really does hide a lot of actual misogyny in their anti-TERF rhetoric. I don't know. I should make a 2-hour video on that.
violence against trans people that will ultimately be enacted by right-wing men.
I call on men to consider themselves decent human beings, to call out the deviants among them, and eradicate these monsters from society.
And Megan Phelps Roper and centrists like her are wrong that civil conversation can resolve this.
Call out the deviants among them, and eradicate these monsters from...
Wait. She was getting mad at me for using terms like shame contrapoints, but then she's going to argue against civil discourse? Wait, what do you want? Wait, you can't selectively believe in civility politics. You either believe there's like a fundamental need for people to engage in that behavior as baseline, or you don't. You can't. What do you mean? Okay.
From society.
People like Michael Knowles and Ron DeSantis and Donald Trump cannot be persuaded. They have to be defeated. As for
I agree with that. I think the same about J.K. Rowling, by the way.
what to do about J.K. Rowling, honestly, let's all just block her. Open up.
Damn, really? The insipid creep of liberalism. So I'll give like the real argument here. Believing that you can disempower J.K. Rowling by blocking her is about as senseless as believing you can by blocking a politician. A lot of a politician's power isn't just in the legislation they put forward. A huge amount of it, as Donald Trump made very clear, a huge amount of it is in the bully pulpit. Their ability to express their opinions and legitimize and normalize and promote their values. It gives them a lot of power outside of just legislation. That is power J.K. Rowling has. Like, she doesn't have the power to enact legislation, but she can directly influence it, which she's doing right now all across the world. Like, she provides the social pretext, which is necessary for right-wing politicians to then go ahead and pass these anti-trans laws. In fact, if I remember correctly, the opening of this video is her talking about the anti-gay lady from the 1980s and how her anti-gay advocacy led to a bunch of laws being passed. Like, Anita Bryant, she was used to further a social agenda that then gave politicians the leeway to enact their legislation. So again, like, the idea, I don't know, this just, it comes across as really infantilizing. It also comes across as really pathetic. Like, J.K. Rowling is the leader of a hate movement, you know? Oh, let's just block her, ignore her. Let's focus on the real issues, not the billionaire with enormous cultural power. You know, let's focus on the real problem. And hey, the GOP is a real problem, not denying that. I just don't know why we're being so dismissive about J.K. Rowling.
On Twitter right now, go to her profile and just block her. Problem solved. Like,
is it? The threat J.K. Rowling poses is not her being mean on your timeline. This is really dumb, guys. Guys, this is really dumb. She might be joking. Is she? Okay, maybe she is. I mean, okay, we'll see. Does she?
Like, don't harass her. That doesn't help. But also, I wouldn't wait for her to change.
No, she's not joking. This is actually what she's saying. It's not a joke. She's actually, we could have had a salvation moment there.
She's gone down what I call the bigotry whirlpool. The deeper you go in, the harder it is to leave, for the same reasons that it's hard to quit a cult or scam. To quote video essayist Dan Olson,
Wait, why remove her agency? What about, like, right-wing politicians? Has Trump fallen down the bigotry whirlpool? Why is she getting... And hey, here's a quick question. When she was listing the real threats from the GOP, I know this kind of sounds trite. Why did she only list men? Like, Laura Boebert and especially Marjorie Taylor Greene are extremely loud proponents of transphobic ideology. Are we unironically doing the bit of, like, because this would be a turf argument if that was the case. The idea that, like, the real threat are men, there's some, like, essentialist factor in being a man that makes them, like, the threat, whereas women are just, you know, handmaidens caught up in the whirlpool of ambient bigotry. They're victims who sink down. They do come up in the video earlier, like female politicians that are being used as an example of the real threat. That's good to know. It's kind of, I just don't understand the infantilization about J.K. Rowling. This seems like something you can't divine from her words. You'd have to ask her. She blocked me. Vaush, you're really misreading the video. All right, there are some people in chat who are, like, spam all caps saying, like, you know, basically don't attack the queen, which, it's a 2-hour video. You know, I'm responding to what I'm looking at here. What I'm looking at right here is Dan Olson, who I love and adore and cherish with every fiber of my being. But calm it down, guys, okay?
One of the most insidious elements of a confidence scam is that the victims who invested the most are often the most passionate defenders, because shame is a powerful force.
Oh, wow, this really is bad. Contra is comparing J.K. Rowling, hate movement leader, to people who have been suckered into buying NFTs. People who got suckered into buying NFTs actually are victims. They were pitched by literal salesmen and con artists. This degree of infantilization is really, really, really weird. I mean, we all make fun of people who got suckered into buying NFTs, but as Dan Olson correctly points out in this video, because I've seen this video, a lot of them really are just economically insecure, anxious, desperate people who wanted to get on the ground of something they felt might secure a good retirement fund. They were wrong to, but that was what they thought, and a lot of them were directly lied to by investors or by salesmen. How does this compare to J.K. Rowling? I mean, I think we could fairly make the argument that essentially every bigot is in some way groomed into it, and I do believe that. But if that's the case, why only J.K. Rowling? Why not everyone? Why not talk about Trump or Ron DeSantis in that way? Because I think you could. Ron DeSantis literally had, like, a pretty messed up upbringing. Like, Donnie didn't get any love from his dad or whatever. Like, you could do this with anyone, right? The whole, they fell down the whirlpool. The good answer, the best way to handle it is to go, we are all products of our circumstances. You know, we're all heavily influenced by our environment. We all get pulled in different directions we don't always control. But we still have to be held accountable for our actions. J.K. Rowling has more autonomy than, like, almost anyone. Unlike a lot of politicians, J.K. Rowling doesn't have to worry about re-election. Unlike Donald Trump or Ron DeSantis, J.K. Rowling isn't listening to day-to-day briefings from the GOP, giving them instructions on which talking points to say. J.K. Rowling is a fully free individual with more money than God who could at any point in time stop what she's doing with essentially no blowback. People who hate trans people might get upset with her for going quiet, but apart from that, she could just ride it out. Ron DeSantis doesn't have that option. He's the governor of Florida. Donald Trump doesn't have that option. He's campaigning for president. Why are we giving her the least agency when she actually has the fewest strings that bind her, the fewest chains? I don't know what to say other than this comes off as apologia. It really does. I'm not trying to, like, go tit for tat with, like, she's bad faith to me, so I get to be bad faith to her. I genuinely think this, like, is really weird. I don't know. I believe this Folding Ideas clip is from the Flat Earth video. Is this about the Flat Earth video? Oh, if that's the case, then I was wrong about the video it came from, but my point stands. Because people who get suckered into Flat Earth ideology are usually delusional people who get, like, groomed by far-right forums that try to, like, push conspiracism on the... Yeah, okay. I may have forgot the origin video, but it's still a weird comparison to, like, draw a line between a billionaire hate movement leader and some random schmuck who gets pulled into, like, you know, yeah.
The human psyche, and they can't bear the shame of admitting they were tricked.
Reformed bigots have to face not only the shame of being dupes, but also the guilt of having devoted years of life to harming vulnerable people.
True.
This is something Megan, to her credit, faced head-on. If we were wrong, then I had spent every day of my life industriously sowing doom, discord, and rage to so many, not at the behest of God, but of my grandfather. I had wasted my life only to fill others with pain and misery. Most bigots cannot stand to face this moral sunk cost. It's why an obsessive bigot like Graham Linehan, whose all-consuming hatred of trans people has ruined his life, cost him his marriage, and left him alone to tweet about destroying gender ideology minutes before midnight on New Year's Eve, feels psychologically compelled to insist with ever more certainty that trans people are not just delusional or dangerous, but are all demonic perverts, an enemy so hyperbolically evil that they justify his self-immolating crusade.
They took everything from me, you know. They took my family, you know. And I just said, no, hang on a sec. Stop calling these women TERFs. Stop sending them abuse. Let them speak. And for that, they just destroyed me.
Do you honestly feel destroyed?
No, because the one thing about this that keeps me going is that I know I'm right, you know. I know I'm right.
As long as he stays here, in the bottom of the whirlpool, he never has to face that he's ruined his relationships and wasted years of life because he just couldn't let it go. And if J.K. Rowling doesn't log off soon, this will likely be her fate as well.
Okay. I'll let her continue.
I guess what I'm really trying to say is, Harry Potter's dead to me.
Okay, that seems like the end there. I don't disagree with the bit at the end of the video. I do not understand the weird patronizing apologia for J.K. Rowling. I just don't get it. And you know, let's focus on the real problem here. She was pretty dishonest about me. I don't know. I've watched all the Contra videos. She's never really dedicated a portion of one to, like, just sort of drama venting about someone else on the left, or anyone really. Even if there's someone on the right, it's usually kind of intricately woven into the video in a way that makes sense and supports the final point. Whereas apparently the reason I was included was, hey, J.K. Rowling kind of does have a point. There are misogynists who are using trans rights activism as an excuse. Here's an example of one engaging in a form of misogyny that is both to TERFs infinitely less vile than my existence as a trans woman, and secondly, is also incredibly mild on its own, and probably much more mild than sexist jokes that Contra has made in her own videos. It's you and Tanky Pick Crew Twitter users. Yeah, but the Tanky Pick Crew Twitter users at least got a funny video, the voting one. That was funny. It felt like she was at least responding to their arguments. She didn't even respond to my argument because she didn't even present it. It was 2 minutes in which no time was spent actually. Like the showing the clips of me didn't support anything related to the video she was making. It was just to attack me. Just so disappointing. She addressed one of your arguments, the tactical misogyny one. I never brought it up. In the clips that were showed, I didn't bring up any tactical misogyny. The only thing I said was, hey, if we talked in DMs, I think you'd agree with my argument. That's the only thing I said. I never brought it up. So she had nothing to respond to. Well. I guess I can't really be too mad about things. She makes one video a year, and every time she gets in trouble online, it destroys her emotional state. I just wish she would be more respectful of other people's emotional state, because even if it doesn't affect me as much, like, it's still bad to do, you know? There's nothing that I respect less more than the pithy crybaby abuse of people who have less tolerance for disagreement than you know? So because they're more easily hurt, they assume that, like, it's okay for them to hurt others, because in any direct engagement between them and others, they'll always be the one who, like, feels worse after, which was no doubt the case with me too. Otherwise, she wouldn't have spent a year simmering before releasing a response to drama that was a year old. She also shits on the concept of debate at around 5011. All video essayists despise the concept of debate because they're bad at it. I could make a video essay. I couldn't make one as pretty as Contra's, I'll admit that much. I could make one, though. I've seen Contra try to debate. They hate it because they think it's a fundamentally dishonest and unconstructive way of presenting arguments, which, I mean, it's possible to lie in a video essay. She did there. Yeah, it's just petty. Okay, I think we're done. Bro, you're using the argument people use against Shu. Contra can't control who likes her post. Calm cat, can you stop coping? You spent the entire stream. It's okay to be a Contra fan. I'm not asking you guys to not be Contra fans. In any disagreement between me and another content creator, I will end up being the right one. You have to accept that. If there's drama between me and somebody else you like, I'm the one on top. Always. I'll always be the right one. So, like, you just learn to accept it. I'm not telling you that you can't like them afterwards. I'm not saying that you have to, like, disavow them or anything. But, like, don't come into my chat and pretend that that's not the case.
Vaush doesn't actually care about advocating for trans people and just uses trans rights as a
Is this just a clip from the video? Oh.
As a pretext to act like a f***ing dingus. I won't tell you to publicly shame him, though, because unlike Vaush, I would never sink to that.
The anti-insult is great. It's for people who want to make sort of crude remarks in their online videos but don't really want any backlash. You do the anti-insult and you'll win every time.
Driving a car, the Minecraft logo in the corner, his teeth. Nah, that. I'm not going to be talking about the kid today.
Nah, I'm not going to be talking about the kid today after showing a picture of his f***ed up snaggletooth to my millions of followers. A zoomed-in picture of his f***ed up snaggletooth. Yeah, no, I'm not going to be talking about the kid today. I'm not going to talk about his up teeth. His teeth? The f***ed up thing in his mouth? I'm not going to talk about that. That would be a f***ed up thing for me to do. These things? Not going to do it. Not going to talk about those f***ed up nasty things.
So that pretty much confirms.
True. So I guess the lesson here is that intellectually, Contra and Leafy are about on par. I think that's the message here, and I agree. Vaush, you kind of did the same thing, saying not going to bring up her addiction. Yeah, that's because I was writing a tweet, and I literally live typed it, then deleted it. But I don't mind bringing it up. I brought it up. I don't mind it getting mentioned. What I meant by not going to bring it up is I'm not going to include it in this tweet. I don't mind it coming up. I don't mind saying loudly and openly, thank you very much, that Contra's behavior is identical to the behavior of the people who drove her to an opium addiction and the people who drove off Lindsay Ellis from YouTube. I'm okay saying that because it's bad of her. She's morally in the wrong. What I was saying was I won't tweet it right here. I don't mind bringing it up. I don't think it's bad of me to do so. You literally did civility politics. They dogpile you for not being civil enough. Guys, when I do the civility politics bullshit, half the time it's because you f***s aren't on my level, okay? This was a thing for so long. It's like this frustration I have where other people treat me poorly, and then I go to my subreddit, and you guys are like, well, hold on, Vaush really did up here. And then I do a stream and I go over how I didn't up, and then you guys change. You're like, oh, well, and usually it's because the person who criticized me is a woman or is trans or is black, and you're all more sympathetic to their perspective because years of lefty conditioning has made you all little bitches who automatically agree with arguments because the person who made them is from a minority group, like what Contra did when arguing with me, which is embarrassing. But I am also from a minority group, okay? A minority group even smaller than transgender people in the United States. Sigma males, of which there are only 2. Myself and Andrew Tate. And we occupy different schools, you know? It's top V and top G.